Hello and welcome to my channel. This is Andy in Singapore. For today's video, we are going to do a very quick review of this new King Seiko model. Reference number for the watch is SDKS025. This model is also known as SPB391 in the international market. So the watch I'm holding on to right now is a JDM model, and this is on loan from our boutique. This model is the second version of the King Seiko that was very recently launched sometime in 2022. So I did a review on the red dial version of the reissued King Seiko, and at that time I really liked the watch. Throughout the review I had really good things to say. I love the design, the size, the way the case is constructed and all that. But a year later, they launched this version with the date complication, and the case has now gone slightly bigger. So I'm pretty sure that with the new date complication, this will really please many watch fans out there, because most watch fans, they really like things like date complication as well as Lume. The Lume hands are added in this version. So let's see if this newer version is really an upgrade from the Gen 1 King Seiko reissues. Now with the lens zoom in very slightly, let's take a closer look at the King Seiko with date complication. So apart from adding things like date complication as well as Lume hands on this newer version, they've increased the case size from 37mm to 38.2mm on this one. Total thickness of this watch is about 12.1mm. So this is a really big difference from what's on the spec sheet. So on the spec sheet it says this is 11.7, but I measured with my calipers and I realized that it is actually about half a millimeter thicker, and I don't think this is a very good height, for a watch of this style. So this is sort of a vintage 70s looking watch, and I do feel that you really need to keep the thickness to under 11. I think that will be a better thickness for this style and design. We've got a rather unusual 19mm lug width here. But the good thing here is, in this version, we are looking at quick release bracelet. You see those two tabs over here. So if you are thinking of changing into a strap, a leather strap, which will really look good on this green dial here, I think it will be very easy for you to do so. We also have the L to L distance of 46mm on this version of the King Seiko. So this is again yet another increase from the first model. So in terms of proportion, size, dimensions, everything has since gone up from the first model. But they've sort of managed to keep the thickness same, the same at about 12.2, 12.1. Powering the SDKS025 is a new Seiko movement. Caliber number is 6R55, and this has a 72-hour power reserve, slightly longer than the 6R35. So the extra power reserve, is the only documented difference between these two movements. 6R35 and 6R55, now they have the same accuracy on paper. It's a +15, -25 seconds movement. Not the most accurate, not the most consistent, but over here they can finally print the 3 days power reserve on the dial here, because this has a longer 72-hour power reserve. At the time of this video, the King Seiko with date has a street price of around $2,150. You can definitely get this one from our boutique, and this is where the watch was loaned in from. So allow me to take some time to thank Eric at our boutique for so kindly and generously loaning me this watch for my review. Now I'm going to share with you the good things about the King Seiko lineup. So the design here of the case, very unique. It's got all this faceting, angular look to it. Looks very different from the usual presage models, those cocktail time kind of design. So it has a distinct look on its own. The case design is very angular. You don't really see any curves on this case. Alright, but it doesn't look very bulky. And I think this is really clever design with all the chamfering done at the lugs, as well as the bezel. So the top of the bezel here is slightly slanted and it is done in a brush finish. And it's got this polished bevel at the side of the bezel, and this really makes the watch pop. And the King Seiko's distinct design is carried over to the bracelet, and this bracelet looks the same. It's a multi-piece, multi-link kind of bracelet, and each individual link has multi-facets. And again, it does so well with light play. Even with the protective film here, you can see that each link is well articulating. So I would say this bracelet is still very comfortable, but I'm not too sure why Seiko has gone with this straight end link. And this watch here looks very disjointed. Okay, so instead of having a seamless look between the lug and the end link here, alright, this bracelet sort of looks like an afterthought. Looks like some sort of aftermarket mesh bracelet that you put on your watch. Alright, so I hope this is intentional, right, to create the vintage look of the original King Seiko from the 70s. Alright, so I have no official word on that. And moving on to the case sides here, we can see that the crown here is nicely signed. So usually around the $1,000 mark, you will not see a signed crown on Seiko. So this emblem here is also brought over to the case back, which again is not nicely aligned. Okay, so you can see that the watch is straight on here, but if I turn over, the King Seiko emblem is actually way off, right, slanted. So this is perhaps one of the few things that Seiko should pay attention to. Now moving on to the dial design of the King Seiko SDKS025, I must say this dial color here gave me a really nice surprise when I unboxed the watch. Alright, so it looked, to me, it looked like it was black. It was a black dial watch. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So if I put the watch at this angle, definitely looks like a black dial watch. Okay, but this is an olive green dial version, and the shade of green will pop up under the right light conditions. So now under studio lights, you're seeing that it's clearly a green dial watch, an olive green dial watch, and it also has really nice vertical brushing on the dial. So there's no sunburst, but I would say there's a right amount of sheen going on the dial here. Accompanying the beautiful green dial are these nicely applied markers. They are very well polished, nicely applied, and they've got really nice faceting going on, polishing going on at the sides of each TCAT bars for the hour markers. Really, really good job here. And from this alone, from the markers alone, I can see why this watch is going at a premium over the $1,000 category of Seiko Presage watches. We've also got a really nice date frame going on. And regarding this date wheel here, I'm very, very happy that Seiko has decided to put a dark date wheel to sort of match with the dial. Right, it's not a green date wheel, but from afar it looks more matching than a white date would look. The amount of text on the dial is also kept to a bare minimum. We've got a Seiko logo at 12 o'clock. We've got a King Seiko logo at 6 o'clock together with the automatic 3 days wording. So overall, it's a really clean dial. Really nicely done. Let's check out the lume on the new King Seiko. Now, as mentioned earlier in this video, this newer version of King Seiko does have lume applied onto his hands, right? So now I know, right? I was wrong when I handled the watch. It actually has lume applied on the ends of the markers as well, the hour markers, and got this matchstick look. Alright, so this is Seiko doing what it does best, the best lume in the business, and it is the same for this King Seiko model. Lume here is very high quality, glows very brightly, but because of the little bit of application you're seeing here, It is not going to be as bright, not going to be a Lume monster, but I would say the Lume here is actually very nice. Let's have a look at the staged wrist shot of the King Seiko on my wrist. So overall, I would say even with the slight increase in case size, this watch remains very wearable. So my earlier fears about this bracelet here, the end link that is, I had some reservations because I thought with the new design it's going to have a bit of luck overhang, but I think looking at this wrist shot over here, it's not a problem at all. Right? It remains very wearable to watch. The L to L distance here is manageable, alright, I would say for most wrist sizes. And even the thickness here, 12.1, together with the dome crystal, it doesn't look like it is overly thick or top heavy. And now let's do some size comparisons between the King Seiko and some of the watches I have with me in the studio today. First up will be comparing with the Citizen AQ4020. This is now my favorite watch in my collection. So both watches are well under 40mm, and I would say they are very, very similar in terms of size, style size and all that. In terms of thickness though, the King Seiko is slightly thicker, coming in at around 12.1mm, whereas my Citizen Chronomaster is about 10.7, I think. Also comparing the King Seiko with my Tissot PRX35, both watches are inspired by the 70s. Now the King Seiko here is a reissue of the 70s model, and the Tissot PRX is inspired by the 1978 Tissot PRX. So I would say they have the same design language with all the facets going on, no curves. And with another bracelet, with a more integrated looking bracelet, I would say the King Seiko even has that look to it, integrated bracelet design look. But of course, with this new luck design here, I think it would definitely look better with a strap. So all in all, a beautiful looking King Seiko. I'm actually loving the addition of a date function over here as well, so it doesn't make the watch too thick. Really great case design as well as lovely looking dial color here. The shade of green is just sublime, alright? Only comes alive at the right lighting and angle, and at other times it just looks like a very normal dial watch. But under the right light conditions, it just pops. Absolutely brilliant dial design and color from Seiko. I still have some concerns over this model though, namely the use of 6-hour movement at this price point. So this watch goes for around low 2,000 Singapore dollars, and I think at this price point, you've got too many competitors going on offering better value for money. The Tissot PRX Auto version goes for around 1,000 Singapore dollars, and you could argue that it has the same level of movement. I'd go as far as to say that this watch is at least 500 Singapore dollars overpriced. So if this watch goes for around 1,500 Singapore dollars, I would think it is fair price, but at the current price that is going for, I would say this is not the best in terms of value for money. So there you have it. That was my review of the new King Seiko model 38mm version with date complication. And looking at this shot, I really think that of all the watches that I've reviewed, this one, right, it's got a dial color which is identical to my assistant here. So just take a look at this angle. The green actually matches the green of George. Alright, so wow, it's been close to 5 years since I've reviewed watches, and I finally found a watch that matches George. Alright, just have a look. They are the same color. I'll see you next week for more watch reviews. This is Andy in Singapore signing off with George, Pixie and the green Rolly Polly. Goodbye.